Welcome to Untamed and Unfiltered Wellness, the podcast where we're tearing up the rulebook of conventional wellness because one size fits all never fits anyone. I'm your host, Joe Swenson, herbalist and founder of Olivia Bell. You know that moment when you're irrationally irritated, snapping at somebody and convinced that everybody around you is incompetent? And then you realize you haven't eaten for 6 hours. Nothing changed except the one thing. You were hungry, and you didn't notice the hunger until it turned into anger. Stress works the same way. Most of us don't realize we're stressed because we only notice stress at its breaking point, the overwhelm, the exhaustion. But if you ask yourself when the stress actually started, usually we can't tell. Stress doesn't begin with headaches, insomnia, or the meltdowns in the car. It starts to creep up quietly. And if we don't learn how to hear that whisper, we're always going to meet stress at the explosion point. So today we're talking about how to recognize the early warning signs of stress and how to stop the stress spiral. Stress will manifest itself physically when we ignore it long enough. When your brain perceives a threat, whether that's a deadline, an argument, poor sleep, a blood sugar crash, or an actual threat, your sympathetic nervous system will activate, which means your heart rate shifts, your muscles tighten, your digestion slows, and your cortisol rises. The American Psychological Association has extensively documented how chronic stress alters our immune function, our cardiovascular health, and our sleep regulation. But the real question, if stress changes our body this much, why don't we notice it sooner? Why do we only realize it when we're at our breaking point? The answer? Because most of us were never taught how to read our internal signals. We were taught to read lots of things, the room, other people, facial expressions, but most of us were never really taught how to read ourselves. And that missing skill has a name, interoception. According to Harvard Medical School, interoception is the perception of internal signals from our body as they communicate with our brain. They communicate through our heart, our gut, our lungs, and our internal organs. These internal senses help keep our body in balance and may be implicated in anxiety, addiction, eating disorders, and chronic pain. For decades, science has understood our 5 senses: sight, smell, taste, touch, and hearing far better than it understands how we sense what's happening inside of us. But now we know that this internal awareness is foundational to regulation. What does all this mean? If you're disconnected from your internal signals, you're going to miss the early warning signs. And when you miss the early warning signs, you're only going to catch stress once it reaches the breaking point. Yes, we have common stress markers: increased heart rate, sweaty palms, and racing thoughts. But that might not be your pattern. Everybody is different. You might clench your jaw or lose your appetite when you're stressed out. Some people might get acid reflux or start to get tightening in their shoulders or start waking up at 3 a.m. for no apparent reason. Our nervous systems have a tell, so you need to get in touch with what your patterns are. If not, you're always going to think that your stress came out of nowhere. Believe me, it didn't. We're just not tracking it the way that we need to. I'm encouraging you to learn your baseline, because if we don't know what normal feels like, we're never going to be able to detect the change when we start to feel the stress. But this also works for our immune system. Some of us are really aware when we start to feel sick, and we immediately start to do something about it. But how do we get to our baseline? How do we establish that? The easiest way to establish our baseline is through a body scan. A body scan is simply tuning into your body and becoming aware of how you're feeling, from the top of your head to the bottom of your feet. It's super easy to do. You can do it just about anywhere. I'm going to walk you through how to do a body scan. Feel free to come back and listen to this time and time again. So if you're someplace where you can, I want you to sit still with your feet on the floor. And take a nice deep breath and slowly exhale. Now I want you to move your awareness to the top of your head. How has your head been feeling? Have you been getting headaches? How does it feel now? How about your eyes? Your ears? What about your jaw? Is it clenched or is it relaxed? Are your shoulders up at your ears? If they are, drop them slowly. How about your throat? Any tightness? Any dryness? How about your chest? Have you been breathing shallow or full? Now we're going to move down to our stomach. Is it calm? Is it tight? Have you been feeling bloated? And your hips, are they holding tension? Are you having problems getting up out of bed or walking? Work your way down your legs, your thighs, your knees, your calves. How have they been feeling? And your feet, do they feel grounded, disconnected? Have they been feeling any pain? Now take a deep breath and think about your hands. Any pain? Are they warm, cold? Have you been feeling any tremors? And work your way up your arms to your shoulders. Now take another deep breath. What we just did is a very simple body scan. Again, you can do this at any time. You can do it lying in bed, sitting in your car in the parking garage, or anywhere. The idea is not to diagnose, it's a chance for you to obtain information. All of this takes less than a minute. And if you do it once a day for 30 days, you're really going to start to notice different patterns. You're going to start to notice when you're feeling sick. If you're a woman, you're going to start to notice when you get your cycle. You might start to notice when you're feeling stress. The big thing is recognize these patterns and intervene early. The problem is when you catch it too late because it's harder to repair the damage. Remember, too much stress, it's going to affect your cardiovascular system, your immune system, your hormones. The earlier that you intervene, the less damage you can control to your body later. If you're looking for some added herbal support, I would recommend passionflower. Passionflower has been studied for its calming effects on the nervous system and its influence on our GABA pathways. Now, GABA, that's part of the neurotransmitter system. And what passionflower does, it's not a sedative. It's going to relax you. It's kind of giving your nervous system like a gigantic exhale. We want to become in tune with our body, learn how to downshift our nervous system when we're feeling too much stress or too much stimulation. Passion flower can do that. Take it as a tea. It actually tastes pretty good. Add a little bit of honey if you're looking for some sweetener. And if you don't want to use passion flower, try chamomile or even lavender tea. But the main thing is try to establish a time each day where you can just tune into your body and start to look for signals. Your stress system has a tell. Your body is going to let you know what that is. Is it a tight jaw? Is it shallow breathing? Is it maybe acid reflux? So the question isn't whether or not your body is speaking to you. The question is whether or not you're listening to it. We don't want to wait for the big dramatic meltdown. Let's try to get things ahead of time before the stress really impacts our system, because that's how we stop the stress spiral before it takes over our lives. I hope you make some time today and every day for some peace, some plants, and some pause. Thank you so much for listening to Untamed and Unfiltered Wellness.